Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast, brought to you by DraftKings, America's #1 sportsbook betting app. All right, now joined by William Brad Allis. I am merely Mike Luke. It's that time of the week again. Happy Tuesday. Brad, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing okay.
All right, so Pac-12 media came out yesterday with their preseason all-conference team. Were you surprised that Arizona only had one player on there?
No.
I agree.
No, can I make an argument for 2 or 3 more guys? Yeah, I can, but I'm not surprised because you've got, for the most part, one proven player, and I think you can make an argument for Kriisa, but I think he's a polarizing player, so he's probably not getting on the list.
Yeah, and Kriisa to me, I wanted to really kind of dive in depth on Kriisa in this live stream, because to me, he's going to be the one that's going to have a lot of opportunities to get shots up. And again, I don't need him shooting Salim Stoudemire numbers, but if he can hover around 40% from both, all of a sudden, I think you're looking at more of a 15-point per game type guy.
Yeah. I mean, with the ability to knock down, we've all seen, you get hot, you suddenly nail 3, and suddenly you're borderline 10 points. So
right,
and that's the modern game, especially the NBA, where the 3-point is king. So yeah, if he can be a comparable shooter and do it where he's getting enough good looks, then yeah, I think he can put up some decent numbers. Now, do I think he's going to be a 15-point a game guy? I don't. But can he be 12 consistently? That would be pretty important for this team.
Well, right. And one thing, though, that we got to give Kriisa too is that, yes, his shooting percentages definitely really annoyed me last year. But there is something to be said, Brad, for being opportunistic with your shots. And we've seen guys that were great all game and they really couldn't make shots when it really mattered. Now, I'm not making Kerr out like he's Michael Jordan, but he had a number of moments, whether it was against Illinois, whether it was against Oregon, UCLA, where he was the one that wanted to take and he made the big shot.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call him clutch yet, but he also doesn't shy away from the moment.
Right.
He's had some bad turnovers in those moments as well. But certainly just having the confidence to be there, because I've gone back to it, as much as everyone kills Alonzo Trier for the Xavier game, he was the only one who wanted the ball. Lowry did not want the ball. Go back and watch it. He did not want the ball. It wasn't a matter of they couldn't find touches for him. He didn't want the ball. Kerr wants the ball. Sometimes that's to a detriment. We've seen guys who are not afraid to shoot with the heat check, and they can't all be Salim. But I'd rather have my point guard want the ball in those situations than shy away from it.
All right. Now, Pelle Larsson's a one that I want to, and I could end up being totally wrong on this one. Again, I was wrong on Pelle last year. I didn't think Pelle was good. I was wrong. My bad, Pelle. But I do, let me put it to you like this. And I'm not privy, obviously, to what the coaching staff sees up close. But when people are talking about Pelle as being an NBA player, an all-conference type guy, I guess, but there wasn't much on the court last year to lead me to believe that was coming right down the pipe.
No, I think I have not seen anything that leads me to believe that he is a surefire NBA player, even a likely NBA player, other than the reports coming out of the U21s this summer.
Right.
If I was going to rate, that's the funny thing. I think, ironically enough, the best pro prospect are guys that we haven't seen anything from.
Right.
Visser, Ball. I can see other guys being more talented, but that doesn't necessarily translate to the NBA. I don't know if Tubelis plays in the NBA.
Right.
I don't know if Kerr plays in the NBA. We've heard a lot about Kylan Boswell, but I need to see it. But if Pelle continues to develop his athleticism, then yes, he could be potentially a guy who plays in the NBA. But to me, at this stage, he can't play the 3,
Right.
and he's probably not good enough shooter to play the 2 at the NBA level. So can he move to point? So I have to see it. Yeah, again, would it shock me? No, but right now I don't see an NBA game. Even though I think he's a terrific player.
What I am curious about is something that the Tommy Gun said about him, and we're going to get to that in just a second. But again, 2 things. Four Peaks Brewery, the official brew of PHNX Sports. Check it out down at the Tempe location. And we also have it here at Tap and Bottle for the Tap and Bottle away game watch parties for Arizona football and basketball. William Brad Allis has been down there multiple times. Definitely very much thank William and Tyler for showing up. And more furniture, morfurniture.com. They redid the entire PHNX studios. Looks absolutely fantastic. Check out morfurniture.com. Get a new look, and they'll be the ones that can help you get there. All right. Now, one thing that the Tommy Lloyd, has said is that he expects Pelle Larsson to be a lockdown defender on the perimeter this year. And that one I can see. I'm still curious a little bit about his lateral quickness, but I do think that, Tommy Lloyd he's got a pretty straight shooter reputation when it comes to this. I'm curious to see what kind of defender that he is able to become this year.
Yeah, again, guys can become slightly more athletic, more explosive. And he was coming off an injury last year where he should have been when he was in rehab, he should have been conditioning.
Right.
And when he was conditioning, he should have been, refining his game. So we may see a slightly more explosive, more athletic Larsson. And you could also get by on your savviness, which is also important because, Chase Budinger was wildly athletic, but was not a good defender.
Correct.
Now, his lateral movement wasn't great, but he was an explosive north-south runner, to use a football term. So, but we've seen other guys. Again, Steve Kerr was a very competent defender, even in the NBA, because he was savvy.
Right.
Was he ever great? No, but he was pretty darn good in college, actually, at times. So, yeah, but I haven't seen it. So right now, it's just like I didn't break down tape of the U21, so I don't know what Larsson did there to impress everyone because his numbers were okay, but they weren't leap off the page. But again, if you know the NBA, they don't care about stats. They're literally I think Luka averaged 11 points his last year in Europe and comes to America because there's a translation that you get when you come. So, maybe Larsson averaged 8 or 9 in the U21s, but showed enough athleticism and stroke and things like that people are interested. So, I need to see it. I'm not doubting it. And I feel pretty confident when Tommy Lloyd is saying these things, but I just haven't seen it.
Let me ask you this. Could defense, as weird as this is, be in this team's calling card? And the only reason I throw that out there is because obviously Courtney Ramey comes in with a reputation being he was an all Big 12 defender. If Pelle Larsson can be as good as Tommy Lloyd says, you've got 2 nice little wing defenders there. Cedric Henderson looks like a player as well that could be that. Could this, maybe outside of Kerr, could this team actually be a pretty good defensive team on the perimeter?
Yeah, but I thought they were pretty good last year.
For sure, but you lost Dalen Terry and you lost did. Christian Coloco, right?
And you lost Matherin, who was a competent defender.
Who, by the way, is good.
He is, yeah. But no, they're going to have a lot of length out there if they want to, depending on what lineup they trot out. And even with Kerr is a guy who is at least willing to defend. He's not always effective, but he's a willing defender. So, yeah, I could see this being a very good defense. I could also see it be a great rebounding team.
Right.
Because they're going to be big. And that's, as long as they go with a traditional lineup, because you're going to have, 3 borderline 7-footers as your frontline players. You're big enough on the wing, and your guards are pretty big. If Larsson's playing the 2 for stretches with a guy like Ball or Henderson, that's a big lineup. So, I think rebounding and defense is going to be pretty important for this team.
We had Cedric Henderson Sr. on a couple days ago. And let me ask you this. What do you expect out of him? And let me just preface it by saying his games last year, the games where he played the best were against the two best teams. He put up 18 and 11 on Duke in a game that was actually somewhat competitive. And against VCU, he did much of the same. What do you expect from Cedric Henderson Jr. this year? Chris Dunn type impact?
A little bit better than Chris Dunn type impact. Yeah. No, I think he's, and I'm actually working on some numbers. I didn't get it done for this podcast. Worked on it for my podcast to see what these transfers from smaller schools, what their numbers translate into.
Right.
And my guess is it's somewhere between 60 and 70% of their output at the other school, but I don't have that in front of me yet, but that's my guess. So I think he was low teens at Campbell. So 7 or 8 if he plays enough minutes.
Right.
I use the only guy who put up better numbers coming to Arizona was McConnell that I can recall. Again, I have to do some more investigation, but our buddy from UNC Asheville, while he had moments, his numbers were, he was a 13 or
drastically inflated numbers. Yes.
Yeah. Because you're having those nights where you're putting up 30 on Winthrop and then maybe that's a bad example. Winthrop's usually pretty good.
Right. But I know what you're saying though. Right.
But against the Big South.
Right.
And again, it's Campbell. And again, should we be encouraged that he put up good numbers against Duke and VCU? Yes. But if I'm not mistaken, Mark Tollefson's best game was against Stanford.
Right. For sure.
And Tollefson was a bit player, a role player. Oh. So again, I'm not poo-pooing Henderson because I like kind of what I saw from him. He's got a good body. He seems to have a good skill set. But to think he's going to come in here and score 14 a game is probably a little bit too far. I think he's going to have more of an impact like a Kerr, a guy who could have a 10-point game, but may also have a 1-point game and play 12 minutes, depending on matchups.
Right. Okay, now 2 things, and then we're going to switch over to some. We'll talk a little bit more basketball, and then we're going to talk a little bit of football. Brad, can you stick with us till 12:55, or you got to be off at 12:50?
12:55, 12:59 is fine. I guess I have a call coming in right at 1.
You know what? When you're the boss, you make your own shots. All right.
No, that's the whole point. I have to talk to my boss.
The DraftKings, but tell them you're doing it for a good cause. The DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. All right. You can put down just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. If that's not enough, stepped up same game. If that's not enough, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Right now, for every leg you add, you can boost your winnings up to 100% with payouts bigger than ever. Why bet on football anywhere else? To make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped up same game parlays once per game all season long. It's simple. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. And again, minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And Tap and Bottle downtown, again, the place to be for all the away game watch parties. Got Four Peaks Brewery on tap. Got KB Thiel's shown up. William Brad Allis has shown up. Sean Seeley has been there multiple times. Come join the crew. It's a good time.
And I know Sean's royalty, and he can do what he pleases, but he didn't say bye before leaving the other day.
Yeah, but you know what, Sean? At the end of the day, Sean, you can do whatever you want.
He's royalty. Man,
He's royalty. Saguaro Cougar royalty at that. All right. So, but we're going into the season here, and basically it's a couple weeks out from being started. So, what is the upside, the ultimate upside for this team if everything breaks right? How could you see them? And then we're going to get to a little football talk.
If everything breaks right, they cut down the nets.
Oh, okay. So you think they have national title content or ability?
I think that's the upside. Yeah, and that's a bunch of guys maximizing it. I think more likely they look like a second weekend team.
Right.
So, which is good. But I think they're at least complete enough. Again, some guys have to maximize some ability. Tubelis has to be a guy who can dominate games, have to find a secondary score. But I think there's enough talent and depth there that, the upside is a national title contender. Now, again, I don't think they're there. I think they're probably a team that, if they can get to the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, that's fantastic. If they can be a 3 or 4 seed, that's fantastic. But I think, again, they're talented enough and they're deep enough that, again, a run is not impossible. I think the basement for this team, or the floor, is probably a team that, gets in on the bubble. I think they're good enough to be a tournament team regardless.
Right.
Just how good they can be. But my guess is they're a second weekend type team, again, of avoiding an upset or something like that. But they should be the favored seed, at least in the first game, if not the first 2 games. I think.
All right, let's talk a little bit Arizona football here. Obviously, the bye week right now. The offense to me has been great. If you were to ask me how to overall the grade of the offense, Brad, no problems whatsoever. It's an A. I mean, it's been a drastic improvement since last year. You could maybe nitpick a little bit, but against Washington, you really, I think, saw how good this offense really is. Defensively, it's an F. I mean, there's no way around that. My question is this: at what point do you just start playing young kids? Because again, with all due respect to the older players, this just isn't working right now.
I would say this. I think it's only an F the last month.
Okay.
I think they were respectable, mediocre, the first 4 games.
Right.
Granted, Mississippi State has gone into a little midseason slide, but they were averaging 40-something going into that Kentucky game. They did what they were supposed to against San Diego State. Where it started to crumble was against Cal.
Right.
Cal has no business scoring 49 on anyone.
And keep in mind, Cal,
much less an FBS team.
Cal scored 9 against Colorado.
Cal has not scored more than in the 30s against anyone from the FBS.
Right.
Oregon, okay, I can excuse it. Washington should not score that much. Washington is a good offense, not a great offense. So yeah, there are problems. I would say already, if they're not sprinkling in a few more young guys, something's wrong. And I know yesterday they said, I think Pryzok's going to get more run at corner. Personally, I want to see, again, no burn red shirts, but I want to see Pryzok. I want to see the other tall corner. I want to see Celestine.
I'd like to see Davis. I'd like to see
Davis, Tacario Davis. Yeah, those are the 3 guys I'd like to see more of.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some Deuce Davis. I'd like to throw out a few more D-line. Again, I don't want to do it at the possibility of getting someone hurt. And that's the problem, especially on the front 7. So I don't know if some of the younger D linemen are ready. I don't know if some of the younger linebackers, I don't know if Sterling Lane's ready to play physically. Just don't know. He could be.
Right.
There's no disparage on him. But at DB, especially at corner, you're less likely to get trucked and run over and, all of that. So I would like to see those guys play. I'd maybe go a little bit deeper at linebacker. It's Jerry Roberts and everyone else right now.
Right.
Overall, I would say the problem with the defense is I don't think it's got bad talent. I don't think it has enough good talent. What I mean is when you have 11 okay players and one of them messes up, it's disaster. Right. When you have 11, when you have 5 okay players and 6 really good players, when someone messes up, you can recover. So a great example, and I know I say don't use Desert Swarm. Desert Swarm was a great example. Their corners were average.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone else, if who was it? Like, if Keyshawn Johnson or messed up, or Daryl Morrison messed up, well, odds are Brandon Sanders or Tony Bowie were there for safety help.
Right.
This team's not good enough. If 1 or 2 guys, get down, and we saw it. We saw a couple of those Oregon clips where one side of the line dominated, and if you're not touching a guy until your safety's there, you have some problems. So that's, to me, the defense. Because if I look at it, I think they have, counting, they probably have 9 guys who are Pac-12 caliber players. The problem is in those 2 spots where they can't get Pac-12 caliber play, they're in trouble.
Yep.
And there's no depth.
I'm going to go on record, though, and say, all right, my guy, back the A, Ray. I'm calling it now. Pryzok starts permanently going forward. I have 0 evidence. That's what we like about you, Ray. But
that would be great news.
It would be great news. It would 100% be great news.
Because right now, Roland Wallace is okay. He's good.
Mm-hmm.
He probably gets a look at the next level. Stooks really should be a team's third or fourth corner.
Right. And Rutherford's not the answer.
And Rutherford's not good.
Right.
And I no disrespect to the kid, but he has not shown me anything in 2 years.
All right. One thing though, with I think I am going to go on record here and real quick game time, and then we're going to go. We're getting spammed here by something.
New A dating. At least it's A. At least it's
all right.
to date the A.
Yeah, date the egg. Game Time is the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets, concerts, and shows. Save up to 60% on tickets when you buy tickets last minute. It's great for you procrastinators out there. If you love PHNX, then you'll love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. I'm going to go on record and say that DJ Warnell is good, and I could be wrong on that, but I liked what I saw, at least against Washington. 11 tackles, 2.5 for loss. Gunnar Maldonado is another guy to me, a little bit like Isaiah Rutherford. Nothing personal. Sure, he's a great kid, but I never watched Gunnar Maldonado in high school or college and said, you know what, that's a big-time Power 5 safety.
It worries me that Warnell couldn't see the field before now. Mm-hmm. So that either means...
Sometimes there's missy vowels, though.
That's what it means. It means either he didn't practice well or they misavowed him, which is weird because usually when you bring in a transfer, you give that guy every opportunity. Right. So that worries me a little. But yeah, he looked good. Well, sometimes when you see your safety with 11 tackles,
I know that's not a good thing.
And other times it means there was just a lot of guys running to where he could tackle him. So I don't know. I didn't study the film well enough. Blame Uncle Kev for talking my ear off at that game. But
nothing wrong with that.
I need to see a little bit more of Warnell before I'm ready to proclaim him. But can I proclaim him as good, if not better than Maldonado? Yeah.
I don't know that Gunnar Maldonado had those numbers for the entire season. That's the only thing. I'm just saying that I think it's going to be improvement. I do think that Warnell is going to be interesting there. At least I think there's a little bit of talent to work with as well. Brad, before we, because we're up against the clock right now, looking at next year's schedule, Arizona, and I'm just springing this on you, but Arizona's got a very, very reasonable schedule for next season where I think you could get 7 wins. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be a least bit surprised by that. Next year, what would you like to see from a win-loss perspective? Year 3 of Jed Fish.
I want to see them in a bowl game.
Mm-hmm. Don't care how, just get in that bowl game.
And whether that's 6-6, 7-5, 8-4, yeah. And a lot of that depends on who comes back and what do they do to bolster the defense. But yeah, you should be, even as bad as they are, the way things are built now and with the schedule, and I haven't seen the whole schedule, but if you can, be a bowl game in year 3, you're on the right step. I know a lot of coaches are given a 4-year plan, but with the transfer portal, it's 3 years.
Right now, is the offense better than you thought it would be this season?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Is it significantly better?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So that's what I
again, and I don't think it's. I still have a lot of grown moment, which right. I don't know, but I don't think they're any more than Rich Rod.
Right.
And they haven't had, with the exception of one outing, the bad games that Rich Rod's offenses could have.
Right.
They also haven't had the great games Rich Rod's offenses have had. But so overall, I think there's more consistency than a lot of the Rich Rod offenses.
I think there's more talent as well. Here's the thing. I mean,
I think there's more talent at quarterback and wide receiver than any Rich Rod offense. Obviously not at running back, which is a good crop. Don't get me wrong. But Rich Rod, when you go from Kadeem Carey to
Nick Wilson,
and then JJ Taylor, that's
good.
Pretty nice. That's 3 borderline NFL backs.
You almost said NBA backs.
I did. I almost did. We were talking NBA early. The only place where I really see the drop off, and it's been better than advertised, is the offensive line.
Right.
It still needs to get better.
Right. All right. Real quick. So here's the deal. OGs, enter the Flavoring Life sweepstakes. One winner will receive 3 bags of OGs hat, an OG's hat, a PHNX shirt of your choice, and a PHNX annual membership. Sign up at gophnx.com. Check the link in the description. Must be 21 years or older to purchase. All right, Brad, we got 1 minute here. Where can they find all of your stuff before we sign off?
Yeah, just finally after about a month, because between being sick and some family stuff, posted a new podcast. It's up, should be at all the sites now. I put it up this morning, link to it. But WSR Brad, and go to Apple, Google, Anchor, or Spotify, and it's the Wildcat Sports Report podcast, or technically I think it's called the Wildcat Sports Report Wildcast, because I had the name first.
All right, guys. Can't thank you enough. Again, Brad, thanks for hopping on. Everybody out there, really appreciate all of your comments. We'll be back with you next Tuesday. I'll be back with you tomorrow. For Brad Allis, I'm Mike Luke. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.